I met Jason when I first started school here in 2009, and this past summer, at the end of the summer, he led a walk for my family, my girlfriend's family, and for a bunch of our friends for her birthday.
I'm Jason Rosenberg, and I lead the edible plant walks in New Paltz, and I'm also the commissioner of the village, or the chairman of the village shade tree commission. I've been showing people around the village since I got here in 2008, and just studying things as I walked around, and if I didn't recognize something, I would look it up on the internet. Then I was teaching people, and people said, well, you know, you should make money off of this, and Nick in particular, so he made a Facebook page for it and started inviting people to it.
It was amazing. He had so much incredible knowledge and ability to share that knowledge in a way that people can understand and receive. He taught us about the incredible array of edible things that you can eat all around New Paltz, the medicinal aspects of those things, the way you can use them, and I was continuously amazed during this 2-hour walk that we went on.
As per usual, there's a diversity in any situation of plants that you can eat. When you find plants that you can eat, here's thyme, and this can be eaten all winter as well because it never dies from the snow.
We started New Paltz Edible Wild Walks in the fall, starting pretty much September time is when we began the first edible walk, and then it happened every week from there on for the next 3 months from that point. Now that winter time is approaching, we'll only be having it a couple times, perhaps each month, maybe less. But it's been a new thing for me.
I had a recent interview with Edible Hudson Valley that's going to be published in the next couple of months, and they were interested in it. We've had several people come to the walks, and I think more and more each time, especially now that Nick is getting reimbursed to pay for students to come. 7 students every session get paid by the school to come to the walks, and that's helped out a lot. This is a mulberry tree. It's related to fig, it's related to cannabis, and it's a fiber plant. You can use the inner bark to make fiber, or cloth I should say, paper, whatever you want. And I'm chewing on it, like I said before, because it's high in inulin. And this would be what you'd call an epiphyte, a plant that doesn't really need soil in order to grow. It's growing out of a stone wall right here. And they keep cutting it back and it keeps persisting. And that's how tenacious life is. It always loves those places where it's being hacked away and they're trying to get rid of it, you know?
This whole Edible Wild Walk has been motivated partially by sharing this information with people that don't know it, that if something changes drastically, if prices become hyperinflated, which is not unlikely in the near to distant future, people will know where to find food. And with the same relationship with sustainable agriculture, TVs can shut off, the energy that we know, satellites can disappear, but we'll always have food. We can always grow food in the ground, and the more and more we can do that, like for example, the ENCC in New Paltz has a commission that's working on food, not lawns. So it's a project where they're trying to get people to grow food instead of try to have green, luscious lawns. And the more we can have people growing food on their front property, growing food in gardens, supporting local farms that are based on ethical practices, the better we're going to be. Instead of people going to the supermarket and buying food that comes all the way from California, because now we have oil, now we have these availability, but we're entering a future where those things aren't as secure as they used to be. So it's very important to work as locally as we can to provide the resources that people need to exist on a day-to-day.
I mean, there's a lot of people protesting Wall Street and things like that, and it feels like the economy may be collapsing, and that we need to figure out ways to support ourselves, support each other, without relying on the infrastructure that exists for long-range transportation of goods and services. So it's important to be able to utilize the resources in our environment and know what they are. And during the Depression, people were foraging so much that the local farms had a lot of the larger fruit trees cut down because they considered them a source of competition. So that's what we're trying to reverse now.
Right.
Because we see ourselves going into another depression, and we don't want all of the food to be dominated by the farms. And I think we need to change the mentality that things are competition. There's enough people and enough needs that everybody can have a cut. One of the reasons why I decided to dedicate my time to being the chairman of the Village Shade Tree Commission, which is not a paid job, is because I want to plant more trees so that there's more edible plants in New Paltz. And some people argue against people planting fruit trees and nut trees because they consider the dropped fruit and nuts to be a mess. And some people argue against people collecting fruit and nuts because they're concerned about the aesthetic of the trees, or they're concerned about the availability of the resource, or whatever, fairness, I don't know, of distribution. But those are both two ends of the same spectrum, especially if the economy is collapsing and people are going to need sources of local food.
Some challenges I've faced in organizing this is that students and citizens of New Paltz alike have food available to them right now. It's not we're not in a time where food isn't available and it's difficult to obtain. So the information to some people is really fascinating, and they really want to experience a walk to learn about what they can eat and what parts of plants are edible that they never had imagined would be something that they could make into food. But others, I think there's a bit of an apathy. So I'm working still on trying to bridge the gap between those two groups.
But these Chinese pears still aren't ripe yet. These are underripe Chinese pears. When you squeeze them and they're ripe, they squish in your fingers. So there's other places in the village that have them ripe this time of year, but these won't be ripe until later this month.
Entailing organic agriculture, where the food is grown with consideration to the land and to the nature that surrounds it. In our country, food's been grown for many years with consideration to mass production, mass profits, and monocrops. So, one thing being grown in one place, which is awfully unhealthy for an ecosystem. So, sustainable agriculture entails having multiple things grown in one place, allowing weeds to take part, not trying to just wash out every form of life except for the one thing you're growing. And it works with the ecosystem. It doesn't harm it. It creates a symbiosis, a circle, whereas every other type of agriculture in our country has created a spiral.
Pull the stem, which is like a plug, twist it, and pull up. And even though it's been sitting on the ground for a while, I believe it's still good. You can squeeze the fruit out through the end there. It's very sweet.
We have plans for sure to move this on into the spring. At least, and there's definitely hopes for moving through the fall and the spring of next year. Nothing definite yet, though. It's still in an early process. We only began fall 11, so we have a lot of space right now.
It's been somewhat of an uphill battle, but we've in the end we've prevailed. We're going to be planting the cherry tree in front of Village Hall next week, and hopefully we'll be planting a pear tree to replace the flowering pear in front of Town Hall. And we eventually hope to have plenty of public food resources for people to pick and educate people about them.